Okay, we're live. Never know how this works. Hey.
Hello, how's it going?
So I'm here with my amazing friend Leah Black. Hey, Leah.
Hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I know. And we're both big fans of the XMen conversation in Access Consciousness, and actually starting a 5-part series tomorrow. I'm starting a 5-part series tomorrow called XMen, the Creation Series. And we wanted to just kind of come and chat about XMen. Because I know, Leah, for you, XMen, the first, you've told me this many times, that the first XMen or the last XMen call I did, I don't know, first, last, whatever, that you did with me was so life-changing for you.
Yeah, I listen to those calls on repeat, like on the regular. I actually might listen to those calls more than any other recording that I have. And I have quite a bit of recordings in my library that I like to tap back into and access. And it just, yeah, listening to the recordings always infuses me with this energy of, really, bottom line is like allowance for the way that I function. And it's like, okay, cool. Like I can ditch the judgment and be an allowance of the way that I function. And when I tap into that space, creation just explodes. And not necessarily like in the way that you think creation is. Like any definition of creation is just like, wow, I can fly. I can just go and trust myself and fly. And so, yeah, I am so excited for this 5-call series, and specifically like something different gets created with whoever shows up to it. So like the cocktail of energies of the people and the beings that show up to these calls, like I am jazzed. It's like Christmas right around the corner. In April, in Corona time.
It's Xmas Eve.
It's Xmas Eve. Totally. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite things about XMen classes too, is just because it is this amazing conversation of getting out of judgment. And excuse me, I'm having a major spring allergy attack today. It's interesting being on an airplane and being like, it's allergies, it's not the virus.
Like, yeah,
I
right.
know, right? Yeah. So but yeah, it's such a cool such a different conversation, and one of my favorite ways to look at anything, really, because as an XMen, it's like we have this conversation a lot in XMen. I mean, it's kind of a big part of what it is actually looking at, okay, so what if your wrongness is your strongness? What if everything, it's like, I always call it like flipping your judgments about everything and looking at what if your disabilities are actually your abilities, which is a whole class. That's a 2-day XMen class, disabilities or abilities. And really getting into the sense of, okay, so because underneath everything that we've decided is wrong about us is actually this universe of gifts and capacities and strengths and ability to create, ability to have a different reality. And we have just layered judgments because it's where we're so different than the rest of the world. And in this reality, difference is wrong. But difference is actually, from an XMen perspective, difference is strong.
One thing I love about this topic too is how there's like spherical awareness. Like for instance, I've just muted myself because I've got a lot going on around me, and this excuse me, one of my, like, this is actually a perfect opportunity to talk about, like, what's wrong about you is strong about you, because uh, I've been shamed or wronged or whatever for having spherical awareness, whatever, like, people may call it, like, oh, you don't have an attention span, you don't have da 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 da, but it's like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm aware of everything at the same time. So
Yeah.
even though, like, my hubby and my son were both talking to me and I told them not to while I was on this call, it's okay, because I'm tapping into Heather's energy. If you're in my ear, I'm also aware that I need to handle whatever is going on here. And I'm getting the energy of all of it. And I didn't hear every single word that you just said. And yet it's like, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and that is so cool because it's so easy to go into judgment in those moments and be like,
Yes.
"Oh, I'm not paying attention," and "Oh my God," da, da, da. We were planning on doing this a while ago, and I totally passed out. So I was in a coma when Leah sent her family out, and she was ready for me. Um, and but it's so cool because when you have this sort of like this whole world of this X-Men conversation and this just sort of like way of looking at yourself in the world, it's like nothing's ever wrong, there's never a problem, and everything is going on all the time, and we can be aware of it all, and we can actually receive from it all and use it all as a contribution and actually create with it.
Yeah.
And that to me is like that's one of the things that I love about having a conversation of creation, for like X-Men creation.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me they're it's so connected, because anytime you're in judgment of you or anybody or anything, any situation, whatever, you are eliminating possibility and you're eliminating your creative capacities basically. And
Like, boom, like right there, people.
yeah.
That nugget in and of itself is worth like $1,000 or
Oh,
more, like infinite,
it's worth
like,
millions, really.
yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm like way underestimating here.
So,
I mean, like, it's, if you could embrace just that and run
yeah,
with it, how much more of yourself you have, and therefore freedom you have in your life to create.
yeah,
Because if you
totally.
are
And
in judgment of you, right? No, just right. Ding,
it,
ding.
yeah,
La,
yes.
la, 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 la. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Like, even I'm loving the examples that are just even coming up right now. I was this is so cool. So Facebook has the thing where the thing pops up of 3 years ago, da, 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 da. This was you 3 years ago, and I was watching myself 3 years ago talk on a live video on Facebook, and it's one of those moments where you're like, wow, I've come a long way, or I've grown so much, which is cool. Like, for a moment I was in judgment of myself. I was choosing that. I was like, geez, like, how small or how scared or how timid or like how much I was trying to get it right on this, and then I was looking at it like, wow, cool. I was willing to get on live and like be vulnerable, and like, what was I choosing then that led to this moment where I could just go and not have any judgment of myself. And it's like, the thing that I'm realizing, and this is like an aha moment even today, is choosing to be vulnerable, like being willing to make a fool of yourself or whatever that is, invites other people to different possibilities. And specifically around this topic of X-Men, where it's like this undefined way of functioning, and it isn't the same for anybody within this topic. Like, everybody that's going to be on these calls is going to get something totally different that applies to their life.
Yeah, totally, totally. And all with this sort of conversation of, you know, like really, like what would your life be like if you knew, if you lived a reality of where there's no wrongness, there's nothing wrong with you, about anything, any situation, like nothing.
Yeah.
There is so much that gets opened up from that. And these particular calls, the X-Men creation series, what I love about this is, we're going to actually dive into different topics. And this is like where it gets really fun
I'm
because
not excited at all.
yeah. So we have 5 calls, one of them on business, one of them on money, one of them on bodies, one on sex, and one on the earth. And really looking at, okay, so if we looked at each one of these areas, it's like, where have you decided that you're bad with business? You can't do business. Like you're too ADD, or you don't know enough about business, or you don't know how other people do business, or you can never figure out how to do it, or you're just bad with it because you can't hold a train of thought, or you don't have enough online systems set up, or there's so many different reasons why we think, oh, I'm bad with business, or oh, I'm shit with money because I can't keep it, I can't hold on to it, I can't do what everybody else does with it, I can't seem to make it, I can't create it. So there's all these, and if you look at each one of these areas, it's like there's a whole world with business, money, bodies, sex, earth, where we're like in this judgment of what isn't, and what we can't and how we can't. But what's so cool is inside, and this is the thing that I think is so cool about this conversation, is like inside of that whole universe of judgment. Let's say with money, because that's a really big one for a lot of X-Men, where a lot of X-Men are just like, I suck with money. Okay, so let's look at that. So this whole huge pile of I'm terrible with money. Now, what if that was actually a whole huge pile of your capacities with money that are totally beyond this reality?
Yeah.
There's no definition for them in the world. You aren't going to see them anywhere because nobody else has those same capacities or the same awareness. And when you get outside of, you start to kind of like brush the judgment off. You're like, oh man, this is a pile of diamonds. I thought it was a pile of poo. It's a pile of diamonds after all, It's so fun to play with all these different areas and go, hey, however terrible you think you may be, you might actually be freaking brilliant in a really different way than anything you've ever seen. And as soon as you get into that, then you can start to look and actually really use that to create.
Yeah. Yeah. The energies that keep like pinging me are allowance, acknowledgement, allowance, acknowledgement, 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 allowance and acknowledgement. It's with those, like that's what I've gotten out of these calls. Like, and each time I listen back to the replays of what's already happened, and like who knows what's going to happen on these next calls. I'm so excited. I get something different too. And there's this undercurrent of when you have acknowledgement and allowance together, it's like you ignite your like rocket launcher.
Totally.
And you're flying past people, and people maybe don't even perceive the level of creation that you're, and it doesn't even matter because you have you. And that's like at the end of the day, it's you having you and being in allowance of your crazy ass capacities that, only you can really acknowledge, which is just, it's such a gift.
Yeah, it's true that only you can, because if you don't acknowledge that your capacities and look from a different point of view of where you think you're wrong, that you're actually brilliant, it's like you have to start that conversation with yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. Certainly other people can acknowledge your brilliance, but if you're not willing to acknowledge it, then actually nobody else can. Like you won't even be able to receive the acknowledgement of other people. Right. So it really has to start with you, and this like intimacy with you that to me is, as you know, Leah, is a huge part of what I facilitate in all of my classes. Because to me, that's actually this like, that really exponentializes our superpowers to perceive, know, be, and receive the greatness and the capacities that we have, is by actually looking at, oh, okay, what if I actually, what if I could actually have total allowance for me, gratitude for me, vulnerability, all these things, trust and honoring. It opens up this huge universe of possibility. And it's just so amazing to me that like we have like these incredible superpowers for creation in all these different areas and in all these different ways, and we've just been walking around thinking that we're fucked up, you know.
Yeah. It's really ironic.
It's
And
really ironic.
it's funny too, because I've been playing with you for a little while now. I've been to a couple of your classes.
Couple.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I am again like hearing things in a new way every time I circle back and listen again. I think at first I like brushed off the elements of intimacy as like subtle energies that didn't really apply to me. Like, okay, like she seems to be making a big deal out of these, but I don't really get it.
Talking about interesting point of view for 30 years. And
Yeah, like
now
IPOV.
maybe we should do that.
Yeah, IPOV is like new in my world somehow too. I'm like, IPOV, interesting point of view, IPOV. But these elements, the elements of intimacy, it's like this like whispery, subtle, and like it's like a key on your keychain that just unlocks everything, but you're like, oh, it's just that like it's that key to the garden that like my great great grandpa, like it doesn't even work anywhere anymore, but it's like the key to your secret garden.
Oh my God, I love it.
Like you just like, yeah, it's amazing. These like I just can't even say how excited I am. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be real fun. So
Come
yeah,
to a party.
I know. Yeah, and these conversations they're so cool because they tend to be really like fast, and there's something about X-Men classes, they're just different, like because they're full of, and if you're like, what's an X-Men? Well, an X-Men is just somebody who has capacities, and functions differently, and not even something that we really want to define. It's not about defining yourself because X-Men actually can't be defined. But they tend to be like fast and kind of all over, and like where we're all just like, whoa, let's get on the rocket ship and go. And it's so much fun playing with other X-Men because there's all this nonverbal stuff that goes on, where people just sort of get things energetically, and then it's
Yeah.
off notices. It's really, really
That's
super cool.
that's what I was trying to say, but didn't say.
Oh, you said something else.
Nonverbal. It's such an invitation because I think another like tripping point of judgment that I've like smeared on myself is like not thinking I ever had the right combination of words, the right as though you could have a right combination of words to deliver in a conversation. And I'm actually like, I get that there's capacities with communication that I'm just now like acknowledging and tapping into. And it's like 90% nonverbal.
Yeah.
Or like 99.
Yeah.
And we might be, exchanging some sort of sounds or like whatever. But the gift of this framework of X-Men or this lens to view that through specifically is like, I don't have judgment of it and I have allowance of it. And I can't even tell you like the difference in the space in my body of dropping judgment, like continually dropping, like shedding the judgment. Like I've got so much more of the space of me. And I've got a 5-year-old and you'll probably see him or maybe you know him or whatever. He might hop on here in about 30 seconds. Who knows? But I look at the buoyancy in his body and remember that like when I'm a kid, and I'm tapping more and more into that, the more I'm choosing to engage in this information.
That is so cool.
And it can be like literally just tapping back into a recording too. Like what I listen to the stuff in my earbuds all the time. But if I'm wonky, I can just like think about the call too that I've already listened to and be like that energy, and something can melt and shift. And so anyway,
then capacities much. That's so cool. And I mean, the whole body piece, like we'll hop off soon, but I just want to bring that in because what X-Men bodies are actually very different. Like the X-Men bodies function very differently. And that you may not feel like that's the case for you, but usually that's because we haven't really acknowledged, like there's so much information in the X-Men classes that can really give you greater awareness of what your body is actually doing or how it functions or how it is in the world. And just some really, really cool stuff to explore around bodies and embodiment, because our bodies are actually quite different than we think they are and that the rest of the world is. And they have these amazing capacities that um, once you kind of open up to that universe,
Yeah.
whether it's with your body or with money or business or whatever, like just changing the world, once you open up to the universe, it's like, whoa, this is so cool. I'm not
Oh,
actually like everybody else. And then the different reality that we can create, which is so timely. I mean, such a timely conversation. The world is, this reality, I say, is pretty much dying at the moment, which I think is a fabulous thing. And it's time to create something really different. And with these capacities that we have, as the awareness and the space and the crazy that we be, it's like it is time, and we do have the capacity to create a completely different world, a completely different economy, completely different universe with our bodies and with the earth. And I'm so excited about it. And I think I planned these calls a couple months ago, and now I'm
at
like,
least. Yeah.
oh yeah, Leah does my graphics. Leah is an amazing graphic
Mhm.
designer. So check her out.
Thank you.
Many other things, photographer, all kinds of amazing capabilities. But yeah, and it's so cool that now is the time. So
Now is the time.
yeah.
I'm going to be like that person that's like like 20 minutes early to class on the first day of school with like an apple on your desk and like just like salivating like with my pencil and paper and like I'm so excited for these and especially exploring these in different and new ways. And yeah, during this particular time as well. Like yeah. Have I said I'm excited yet?
um, no, you can say it again though. Me too. Me too. Me too. Yeah. So we start actually tomorrow morning in the US, in just about 13 hours. Actually, it's almost 8 p.m. here, or no, I don't know. Something like that. I always get thrown off with time because I'm in Seattle now. But yeah, 9 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time. And wow, I'm really, really excited. So if you guys want to come and play, come and play. The link is heathernichols.com/xmen creation. And 5 calls: business, money, bodies, sex. Oh my God. One of my favorite topics, by the way, and earth.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much. See you in
thanks.
class.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you there.